All right, so we're going to pick up where I left off from that last section, looking at the more modern developments in microbiology. And we're looking at some of the different fields of microbiology. So if microbiology really interests you, you could get a microbiology degree in if you went on to college. You might just get a general biology degree, and microbiology would be one of the courses you could take. But there's lots of other, if you get a degree in microbiology or maybe a clinical lab scientist degree, there's a lot of subfields where you might have to take, a semester class in some of these. So bacteriology, just like the name suggests, is the study of bacteria. Mycology studies fungi. Virology studies viruses. Parasitology is going to be the study of protozoa and those parasitic worms. And then immunology is the study of immunity. And so this is going to look at, how your body works to try to defend off foreign invaders such as bacteria and viruses and other types of microbes. And so some of the things that they're looking into are vaccines, interferon, and then another scientist that's important, Rebecca Lansfield, she identified different bacterial strains using immunology. Okay, so we have E. coli in our gut that kind of helps us by breaking down our food and stuff, but it helps as it's breaking down our food, it's helping create and make some vitamins for us at the same time. Now there's a different strain of E. coli, H1 something, I can't remember the whole strain of it, but that causes like severe food poisoning. And so that wouldn't be a kind that we'd want inside us. Otherwise, you'd be running to the bathroom quite a bit. Microbial genetics looks at how microbes inherit different traits, and closely related to that is molecular biology, and that's the study of how DNA directs protein synthesis and codes for your traits. Genomics looks at the study of an organism's genes, and then it can kind of compare that between the genes between different organisms, and that helps us in classifying newly discovered microorganisms. We're doing a lot of work with recombinant DNA technology, and that's DNA from two different sources. And so that's where we use a lot of that with like genetic engineering, where we take the DNA from one organism and insert it into another organism. And so we currently have like bacteria that we take the gene for human insulin and we insert that into bacteria, and then they can mass produce that for us for individuals who are diabetic. And so Paul Berg in the 1960s inserted animal DNA into bacterial DNA to help produce an animal protein. And so again, we use that ourselves now. So it's a good thing because it's helped us mass produce certain proteins and other types of drugs that allow us to help individuals who have different maybe genetic disorders or other types of health issues. We can also look at microbes and the environment. Again, microbes are our major recyclers. They are the main decomposers. So they play a huge role in our food web and our food chain and the cycling of nutrients, the cycling of all these carbon, nutrients, sulfur, phosphorus that then can be used by plants and animals, nitrogen, all of that. They're big in sewage treatment. All sorts of different microbes are playing a role in breaking down your waste in sewage treatment facilities. And so they play a huge role in that. Bioremediation is probably a new term maybe you're not as familiar with. That's using microbes to clean up pollutants in an area. So maybe if there's a chemical spill or an oil spill, so it's using microbes to try to clean up and restore that area. We've used microbes for biological insecticide. Bacillus thuringiensis has been inserted into plants such as corn, if you've ever heard of BT corn. That means that corn now doesn't have to be sprayed with a chemical insecticide to protect it against pests. It now has a gene inside it that kind of naturally protects it, so you don't have to add the pesticide to it. So biotechnology, another term here, is the use of microbes to produce a product for human use. So any kind of product for human use. So produced for food, chemicals such as insulin. We use yeast in the making of bread. I guess that would be kind of biotechnology too, because we're using a microbe, the yeast, in making a product for ourselves, baking of bread. Okay. Another thing with microbes is that they can form biofilms. This is when microbes attach to solid surfaces, and then they grow into these big masses. So it's not just one type of microbe, it's a whole kind of community of microbes kind of growing together. And so they can grow on rocks, pipes, teeth. Have you ever been on a camping trip or somewhere where you haven't been able to brush your teeth as often as you normally do, and you get that little film on your teeth? Ew. Hey, guess what? You have a biofilm. So if you want to prevent the biofilm from building up, brush your teeth regularly, okay? Medical implants, they can grow on there. And biofilms are the major cause of urinary tract infections. Sometimes we call them UTIs, if you've ever heard that expression before. A UTI is a urinary tract infection. So why is that? Why do you think they cause urinary tract infections? Catheters. So anytime if you're in the hospital and you're immobilized, maybe if you broke your leg or something and you can't get to the bathroom, well, then they're going to put a catheter in you to drain off your urine into a bag that's hooked up next to you, and until you're able to be more mobile and be able to go to the bathroom on your own. So anytime you're inserting something into your body, a foreign thing into your body, you risk the chance of introducing microbes to that area that wasn't there before. And so anytime they have to insert that catheter in a person's urethra, now they've just got a risk of introducing some microbes there, causing that urinary tract infection. But as I told you before, you have more microbes in and on you than you do of your own cells. And so you're actually covered. And inside you have lots and lots of microbes there. But we call these normal microbiota. These are the microbes that are normally found in or on your body. And they're actually good for you. They prevent the growth of other pathogens. So normal microbiota can produce growth factors like folic acid. They can produce vitamin K. Remember, your E. coli can help produce some of the vitamins for you. So it's good that you have that. That's why when they tell you to wash your hands all the time, it gets me a little worried. It's like, yeah, we want you to wash your hands, but you don't necessarily have to use antibiotic or antibacterial soap. Because what you're doing is you're probably killing off all your normal microbiota as well. And so you don't want to kill off all your good bacteria. And then if suddenly a bad bacteria becomes resistant, then all of a sudden you're kind of in trouble. And so we have to be a little bit careful with that. Yes, we want to keep our hands clean. It's good to wash them and scrub them as much as we can. But the soap can just be good old regular soap. It doesn't have to be antimicrobial soap. All right? Resistance is the ability of the body to ward off disease. And so usually if you have a good immune system, and usually if you're young like you guys are, most of you, unless you have an underlying health condition, you have a good, strong immune system. And so most of you have pretty good resistance for warding off disease. That's why when you notice with the COVID, it's none of the young people that are dying from it. It's all the really, really elderly that are dying from it. number one, they probably have more underlying health conditions at that age, and their immune system, as you get older, your immune system just starts to not be as strong as it was when you were younger. So there's not as much resistance in that population. Resistance factors include your skin, stomach acids, antimicrobial chemicals, and here they show you a picture of normal microbiota on the human tongue. Okay, we're going to do a very similar experiment we did where you got to go sample different parts of the school. Well, we're going to be sampling parts of your body. Okay, and no, we're not going to get intrusive or anything like that, but you're going to get to see what kind of normal microbiota are like on your face. And if you want to swab your tongue, you can do that. But different things like that just to see once what type of microbes you have growing in and on you. Finally, the last little section here deals with infectious diseases. When a pathogen overcomes the host resistance, that's when you get a disease. And so anytime we have a new disease and disease that are increasing in incidence, we call this an emerging infectious disease. All right? And so some of the things over the years, avian flu, MRSA, that's methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Remember I had you look at that on the microscope lab? It was very tiny. This is like, flesh-eating bacteria. They can cause a real nasty tissue. Oh, you can just eat away at your tissues. Very nasty. So we don't want to get that. West Nile virus, that was kind of coming on a while back. Mad cow disease. Here's the E. coli. Here's the one I couldn't remember. 0157H7. Yeah, that's why I couldn't remember it. That's the one that gives you really bad diarrhea. Okay? Gives you a very severe, almost food poisoning. And so sometimes when they say, oh, there's been an E. coli outbreak, they're not talking about the E. coli that's normally found in your gut. You always have that there. That is your normal microbiota. They're talking about this nasty one here. Ebola, hemorrhagic fever. We always hear about outbreaks of that every once in a while in Africa. AIDS, of course, has always been with us for a while. And now, you guys are living through an emerging infectious disease right now with the COVID-19. What are some things that contribute to these, though? Well, just evolutionary changes. Over time, organisms change and evolve. There's mutations. Anytime there's a mutation, that's a change in the DNA. Well, if that mutation causes that virus, for example, to be able to be more infectious, so it can spread easier, because the whole goal of a virus is to get inside a host. So if it becomes more infectious, if it makes it more deadly, if it makes causes these different changes, that's just part of their evolutionary pathway. All organisms have mutations in them. It's just a matter of if those mutations allow them to survive better or not. Big thing though, modern transportation. Let's put mutations there so you know. We can travel so easily. Okay, how did coronavirus get here? If it originated in China, how did it get here? Well, most likely somebody traveled from there and didn't even know it. There's a lot of people who are asymptomatic that have the virus and don't ever show any symptoms. So it's probably as simple as that. Somebody went there to visit or had a vacation there, or maybe family, and they came back, and that's all it took. And then once we start spreading around and traveling from place to place around the country, then it can just can go everywhere. The fact that we're disturbing and encroaching on new areas, so places where we're doing deforestation and construction, so especially places in the tropical rainforest and things like that, where we were never really meant to be in there. And now if we go in there and we get exposed to some new virus that, it didn't affect us ever before because we were never in that area before, but now we've gone in and encroached on that area, that can cause some of these emerging infectious diseases to kind of pop up. Antimicrobial resistance, the fact that some microbes are becoming more and more resistant to all the microbes. So that MRSA, the reason that's an issue is because it's becoming resistant to almost any antibiotic we can throw at it. So you guys are going to be doing a little mini project where you're going to each investigate some emerging infectious disease and report out on that just a little bit via a discussion board to kind of show what's out there and what's affecting different parts of our world. Okay, that is the end.